prohibiting them and be done with this.
All right, be careful. I've just gone live on YouTube. Be careful what you say.
You can't unalive them.
Don't say
use
that.
the pew-pews. You gotta say things up.
All right,
well, I didn't say kill them.
Hey, easy. We're on live now on YouTube. Okay, folks, welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you listening on YouTube, this is Chris in Central Pennsylvania. We're doing something unusual tonight. We're going to try to feed this Joe Biden presentation over WSMN, over Common Sense Conservatives. So I'm in my YouTube studio and in the radio studio with my co-host Todd in Indianapolis tonight, and of course John up in the studio. So anyway, thanks for bearing with us, folks. Hang in there and we'll see what happens here. All right, so I've got it up on my screen. Let me get back to, but my camera can't come on because I'm using it for this broadcast. So I've got multiple cameras. I should have just set that up. Anyway, all right, folks, we're about 8 minutes away from Joe Biden supposed to announce the stream has started by the White House. Excuse me, that's the feed I'm using from the White House, and since that's public access, and we'll wait and see if he comes up. But it's just crazy what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, so as I was saying earlier, we started talking about the situation in Butler. Josh Hawley said that, let's see what he said in the letter. He said that one of the whistleblowers that's come to his attention, he sent this letter to Alejandro Mayorkas 2 days ago. He said the whistleblower said that alleges that there was supposed to be a law enforcement presence on that roof. In fact, the whistleblower alleges at least one individual was specifically assigned to the roof for the duration of the rally, but that person abandoned his or her post due to hot weather. Seriously? I don't recall ever abandoning my guard post or my foxhole or my armored vehicle or my track in the midst of combat because, well, it was hot and the bullets were dangerous. Seriously, what kind of people work for the Secret Service or law enforcement?
Whenever they have stuff like this, all you have to do is call that security room and say, hey, I need a push at my location. Somebody will come and replace you there while you go get cool off, drink some water, towel off, whatever you got to do for 5, 10 minutes. You come back, replace that guy. He goes back doing whatever he's doing, giving people a break every so often. And that's what he does. He rotates around the venue.
Yeah, look, I mean, how can the personal comfort of a Secret Service agent or a local law enforcement official be more important than the life of the president and the crowd? I mean, that's unacceptable. What is this? Look, you're not a barista. You're guarding the principal. Your responsibility is their safety. This is the safety of the republic. You don't get to take, well, it's too hot. Look, what are the 3 general orders? I will guard everything with limits of post, only my post from property relief. Seriously. Give me a break. This is pathetic.
I mean, I've sit there and had sweat, melting my eyeballs, and I'm sitting there just trying to keep it out of my eyes as we're sitting on a target, a high-value target. And we have some intel guys that are recording a conversation going on and doing a few other things. Here I am. I'd love to pop back in the up-armored Humvee and get a little AC. But guess what? My job was to go stand somewhere and guard, and that was it. And that's what I did. Stood there for about an hour and a half.
The thing about this is, where's the discipline? Where's the discipline?
Where's the dedication?
The dedication, exactly.
Where's the sense of mission? There is none. Look, this, being a law enforcement official, being a firefighter, being a first responder, being a soldier is not a job. It's not a vocation. It's a calling. It's a sacred responsibility and duty for the public, for the nation. And if you can't hack it, then go work at Starbucks or Arby's. America's roast beef, yes, sir. Don't go there. They've got the meats. You don't need to hang out in the Secret Service. Ridiculous.
Although I got to say, because they did have counter sniper on the opposing roof, so that roof was in a line of sight.
The range fan had areas that were dead space. They didn't compensate for that. They didn't put someone else in a position where there was no dead space. Why wasn't there a sniper on that roof? Well, better yet, you didn't have to be on the roof. The room behind there, the operations center for local police looked out over that roof. Why weren't they in there? You could see over the roof from that room. I saw the image. They're standing in that room. You look across, you can see where Trump's at. It wasn't obstructed by the building in front of them. Why weren't there people inside there? You could sit a sniper up in there. Wouldn't even be visible to the public. The only thing that would be out the window is the edge of the barrel.
By no way should that perimeter not have been patrolled. We talked about that last week. Uniformed officers or somebody out there monitoring. Those buildings look like too much vulnerability the way they're set up.
Yep, and I can tell you that President Trump's Secret Service detail has been running about 20 to 21 people for the past few years, and they've been asking for more people. They only have enough to basically run 2 shifts, if they're lucky. Any former president should have 3 to 4 shifts on their detail at all times.
Yep.
According to Cheeto, they are about 100 man short on staffing.
Okay, listen. According to Director Cheetos, I don't want to hear it. Director Cheetos. She needs to go back to guarding Lay's potato chips. You know, this woman is the most feckless, opaque, useless fool in the U.S. government. And when the government that has Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Lloyd Austin, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, she's right up there.
Even if you are short-staffed in D.C. or overall, you outsource, and that's what they do. They had state police there, they've had Secret Service there, and they've had uniformed officers.
Well, they had state police just outside the perimeter, just doing not even crowd control, doing traffic control, and that was it. They didn't allow them to come and set up and do anything. Apparently, that's from some of the stuff that I've read and some of the testimony.
Well, the bottom line is this: is that there will always be overlapping jurisdictions for law enforcement. There will always be liaison with either host nation in a foreign country, with intelligence services, with presidential services, presidential guards, with local law enforcement. That is a given. That doesn't abrogate the Secret Service from spying. How can you tell me the perimeter 130 meters away is not your perimeter? I mean, good Lord, you could take an AR-15 and fire from 4 times that distance. It's effective range. Right. And that's an AR-15. That's not even a 30-06 or an elephant gun or something like that.
Right.
So, from my understanding, Trump would have a permanently assigned leader, right? Somebody who works for Secret Service that's going to run a team that's permanently there. Who is this guy, and why is he not being questioned?
With a special agent in charge, whoever that may be, whether they were on duty that day or not, should definitely be questioned, because everything should have been running through the special agent in charge, or SAIC should have been vetting everything and sitting at the DC, looking at everything. You want man request, you need more guards, you need whatever. It goes to your special agent in charge or a supervisor. They're within the detail.
So I was going to say somebody's in charge of this detail. Somebody's ahead of it, and they had to go and have somebody go out and survey it before Trump arrived, before people arrived, make sure it was clear, and do things to ascertain to limit any threats. Yeah. Something failed here, and the funny thing is we hear about Cheetos, but we don't hear from this guy.
Well, look, they're all being.
I'm sure you will.
I'm sure their reps. Their union reps and their attorneys are all involved at this stage. Listen, I mean, it's if it wasn't so sad, it would have been hilarious and entertaining watching the so-called testimony of Kimberly Cheadle yesterday. It was shocking to say the least. The woman wouldn't even confirm what she went and rushed off to the media to set a narrative. She wouldn't even confirm that.
That's ridiculous.
I agreed with the AOC yesterday, by the way.
Oh wow, that's pretty rare.
Impressed with the AOC, but yeah, she did kind of like tone it down and be pretty direct, which is abnormal for her, and her eyes didn't bug out of her head. And
that was the first time she looked congressional in any respect.
Yeah.
Was then.
But don't get all enamored. No, I'm not. She's going to go back to being herself. The thing about it is I really felt like Congress didn't have their act together when they were asking her questions. I mean, they kept repetitively asking her the same sort of questions over again. She kept having to refer to, "Hey,
Cheetle?
This is an FBI investigation. I'm not qualified to comment on an FBI investigation." But yet they keep going back to these same sorts of questions. I mean,
come on, you're saying she was treated unfairly? Is that what you're trying to say, John?
No, I'm saying they were abusive.
They should have been abusive. She's been abusive.
If you want the best out of somebody, you don't talk to them like that. Treat them like a professional.
If you want answers, you don't do this in public. You do it in camera. You do it in camera. You go in private in a classified facility, then you disclose it. Her answer should have been said, "I cannot disclose that."
It's about to happen. Hold on now.
She has to say, "I cannot disclose that. We have to go in camera in order for me to tell you that because of the sensitivity of the classification." That's what she should have said, but she didn't do that. Yeah. She obviously
didn't know what she was doing, dude. She never knew what she was doing.
Then why is she the director of the Secret Service with a $3 billion budget?
She had no clue what she was doing in that hearing.
Joe's late.
But in any interrogation, I dare say the colonel probably has interrogated many people.
I have.
You ask the same question over and over and over, try to see if they're lying, get a different answer, figure it out.
Exactly. And she got caught lying. She was asked the question over and over again. A couple times she changed the story.
Yep.
I was gonna say, let's go ahead and move to our break and pick it up when Joe gets in, or we'll just pick it up at the end of the break.
All right. If we have to take a break, you're listening to WSMN, the Common
Well,
Sense
you know what?
Service.
We don't have to. People would rather not hear an ad anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We're just,
But if we have to play the ad, go ahead and play it. We can
We
always
don't have
pop
to.
back
It's just top of the hour break. It's a news they heard.
Well, Joe's late. We're waiting on Joe Biden to show up, folks. For those listening on WSMN, you're listening on the radio, of course. If you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube for the channel, if we haven't been censored on that channel, you can watch us there. But I'm also simulcasting on my YouTube program, Chris Wyatt Reports. And for the audience on that side, you're hearing it just as the radio audience hears it. You're not seeing, but you will have the benefit of seeing Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe, Cowardly Joe show up on screen if he ever makes it. Tonight we're going to confirm whether we're watching the movie Dave or not.
He shows it up at 8:40 now. So no, Chris, Todd muted himself, but I really honestly think Congress was grandstanding a lot during that hearing.
Yeah, they were. They were. And today, even more so. All anti-AR-15, all anti-guns. Here he goes. Here's Joe. Here's Joe.
My fellow Americans.
He didn't come through yet.
I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents in the Oval Office. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this. We are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism, make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence. Our planet from climate crisis is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world.
He's fading.
I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war.
There was peace before you took over.
We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained
Like
all around the world.
Like Brittany Griner, America hater.
You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities.
Oh God.
We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century.
We're in the grip of
The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
Oh dear God.
We came together as Americans. We got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure.
I'm broke.
Today we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record.
What jobs?
Wages are up.
No,
Inflation continues to come down.
No, it's still higher.
The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years.
That's a lie.
We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America.
Yeah, because it's
We're
right.
leading the world again in chips and science and innovation.
No, we're not.
We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just
You
seniors.
drove them up for the rest of us.
More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who were exposed to toxic materials.
I didn't get a penny and I was exposed.
You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years.
Lie.
Today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low.
That's holy.
We're also securing our border.
What?
Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office.
He's smoking
I've kept
something.
my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America.
See how that went?
I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans.
76% white?
That's
No, it
what
isn't.
I've done.
It's like 26% white. Doesn't look like
I
it.
ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake.
It's like a Mel
The
Brooks
very
movie.
nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world.
And you ruined it.
That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident.
Oh, here we go.
We're all created equal.
Oh,
The
man.
endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now.
That's why we're dumping you.
In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable.
You're fast.
She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, Remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it.
Yeah, well, we had it.
A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years.
Resign.
Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America.
No, that's what's wrong.
We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation,
No, you haven't. You're
like so many others.
You've stolen from us.
I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people.
Fools.
I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. You just have to keep faith, keep the faith. And remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together. Preserve our democracy. God bless you all. And may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Oh, that's Joe Biden, folks. There you go. That was real special, wasn't it? Not?
Well, you got to give him some credit here, Chris. It's the first time I think I've ever heard Joe Biden refer to it as a republic, but I don't think he had a choice when he's quoting history.
Right, yeah. Ben Franklin's quote basically forced him to say republic. Otherwise, he'd be saying democracy, right?
Oh, good Lord. I mean, that's just, I thought it was pathetic. I mean, the delusional. When there are less border crossings now than the previous administration, what planet is this guy on? I mean, good Lord. I mean, I look around my neighborhood. I don't recall seeing hijabs until this guy did this. I don't recall seeing all these people from Latin America or from Africa living around me. And I have a problem with people living here if they came here legitimately. Some of them did. We have people from Liberia that settle in Lancaster. We have lots of Indians that settle in the Camp Hill, Mechanicsburg area because of the IT and insurance industry. But now we got people being dumped in rural neighborhoods who aren't from here because of these criminals in this White House. It's unbelievable. These people.
Absolutely. This is what. How many Oval Office resolute desk addresses has he given since he's been president? Like 3, maybe 4, right?
Not much at all. That's for darn sure. This guy has been he's been hiding Biden the entire time he's been the presidency, and he's clearly living in delusion. I don't know who wrote the script, but I mean, you know, I bet you the Washington Post, New York Times won't fact check it because the entire script is lies. Everything's a lie. Everything he said was a lie. There's maybe 1 or 2 things that are partially true. By the way, folks, for those listening on the radio, listening to WSMN, 95.3 and 1590 on your AM dial, thanks for tuning in every Wednesday night on WSMN, the Common Sense Good Service, with my co-host, Todd McKinley, retired senior non-commissioned officer from the United States Army. Yeah, first to fight. That's right. That's right. The Army's first to fight. That's right. First in the nation. We're the first armed service.
For your right, and
the Army goes rolling along.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's
You
right.
got it.
That's right. And John Grosvenor up there, our truck driver extraordinaire in Nashua, New Hampshire. Keep on trucking, buddy.
Now is Roxanne there, John? I see a red light. What's going on?
Roxanne.
That is just an indicator that we are live.
Oh, well, so when it
If it
flashes,
happens to call in the ladies,
so what happens when it's flashing? It's flashing now.
that's just me killing the mic 1 here. Activates the light to let people know that it's that the studio's live.
All right, so for my YouTube audience who's currently listening right now, tonight you have to just, imagine you're listening to the radio because we've brought you Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe, Cowardly Joe Biden, his live address to the nation, in which he spewed all kinds of fairy tales. The man's living in an alternate universe. But we are live on the air at WSMN, which you can find on Facebook or at WSMN.live. if you want to listen, but you can also listen here tonight on my program. Todd and I have to be very careful not to say any of the trigger words for the PooTube audience, because we'll get censored and the channel gets shut down.
So, Todd, and you have to be careful. That means I can say what I want.
Oh, please. No. Oh, my. There's
There's
always
right
one. There's always one in every crowd, isn't there? Isn't
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
I'll be
I
that
got
one
2 strikes right off the bat, so I'll be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so no, I just want to let my audience know on YouTube. That's why they're just hearing us and they're not seeing us, because it can't bring you in. Well, actually, I could probably do this. Hang on a second. Actually, I think I could pull this off. Hang on. I can bring you guys in. Let me see if it'll work, and we can do it this way. Then my audience.
Here
can
we go,
see
Todd. We're going under.
No, it's not going to work.
The push of a button. Chris canceled the show.
No. We somehow get sucked into the Matrix or Tron or something. I don't know.
I can't do it. It doesn't let me go full screen, so I can't do it. Okay.
Oh,
You're kind of in my world. I go through all these hassles at home. I got to where I can't even screen share on StreamYard anymore and get the audio when it's ridiculous.
I was just trying to.
As far as screen share
I was just trying to go full screen, because people don't need to see all this other crap around here. The studio stuff. I was just trying to go full screen, but it's not letting me do that. That's okay, but they can listen in if they want, and we'll stick with it. We're only on for about another hour. Amanda Annette Short said that speech was layered and stitched. Oh, it was something, all right.
It definitely wasn't at the Resolute desk, but it looked like a mock-up.
I really like that, layered and stitched.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that somewhere.
This speech was Lilo and Stitch. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. It was layered and stitched.
Yeah, well, it was thrown together for sure. And layered with so much BS. I mean, it was like so many different topics it was thrown in there to make it seem patriotic.
No, it was like Joey Tribbiani's shepherd's pie. He's eating shepherd's pie that Rachel made. Right. What's wrong with this? You got peas and carrots and custard.
Oh.
And poor Phoebe. I love Jacques Cousteau. Phoebe, I think Jacques Cousteau is dead.
Yeah, I love Jacques Cousteau.
Oh, my goodness. That was fun times back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day. Anyway, so folks, you've listened to Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe, Cowardly Joe Biden, whom the media and all of the sycophants of the Democratic Party are saying, what a courageous man. What a patriot to step down. Excuse me. Todd, if this man was a patriot, he wouldn't have run for office.
Absolutely. He had no ability to run for office. And now I'm looking at a picture of Joe Biden with Kevin O'Connor in the background, his physician. The guy who re-enlisted me for the last time, he was a White House medical unit physician. I'm like, I hate to see the way he went. He's gone, too, because he's going to be thrown to the wolves if it comes out.
Are you talking about his personal physician there, the guy who's feeding us?
Kevin O'Connor.
It's funny how Kevin O'Connor's diagnosis for a person who clearly has mental acuity issues, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, he's clearly got issues. But this guy gives us a fairy tale. And Donald Trump, when he was in his early 70s, was fit. He's full of life. And all we hear is that, well, no, that Rodney Jackson must be lying. That can't be true. Why do they accept what this guy's saying, but not what Jackson had to say?
But immediately, within a couple of days of Rodney Jackson's assessment, Trump walked out, and went back to the campaign trail, went back to the rallies. He was strong.
They're trying to label Trump. They're trying to label Trump as losing it now, and he's not. No. He doesn't slip up. He doesn't mess up.
Very calm, very cool, very level-headed. J.D. Vance, very intelligent, obviously, former Marine. He's level-headed. He's with it. He knows what he's talking about. He has his faculties. And he said in conversations and interviews, he says, if I feel that I'm losing it, he said, I'll either step aside or they're going to have, my blessing to invoke the 25th Amendment. I shouldn't be president if I can't do it.
Well, there you go. It's time for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. I mean, if he can't run for office, then how can he serve? That's a lot more challenging. Oh, by the way, do we really think that NATO is going to become the most robust in its history in the next 6 months because of Joe Biden? Why hasn't it happened in the last 3.5 years, Joe?
He's going to hide away. He's going to give a couple little speeches here and there. They're going to say, Joe is so great, isn't he? Better than he's ever been. What a humanitarian. What a George Washington character. A George Washington character, mind you, until Joe Biden just did this in the last few days, they hated because he owned slaves. If you remember, the left hated George Washington. He owned slaves.
Yep.
This nation was founded on slavery, and George Washington was one of the main perpetrators. They hated him. They wanted to tear down his statues, tear down his home. And now all of a sudden they're lionizing George Washington.
Well, the interesting is George Washington actually despised slavery. He didn't like it.
That's true. He married into it.
Yeah, that's true.
In
yeah.
fact, one of his wedding gifts was a slave, if I'm not mistaken, and he got rid of it. He didn't want
Because it was his personal, because it was given to him personally, and he freed the slave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was.
Yeah.
Look, I'm so sick of the nonsense about slavery. Slavery today, there are more people in bondage today than any point in history. At a given point, at least 75 million people are slaves today, and no one wants to talk about it. And we all want to hear about is reparations. Well, reparations for what? The Christians were enslaved in the Middle East during the Crusades. Christians were enslaved in North Africa long after the Crusades were over. Up until the late 19th century, the Barbary pirates were still kidnapping Irish and Icelanders and Basque and others and enslaving them, castrating the males, and selling the women off as concubines and slaves. This has been going on forever. It's not unique. Every conquering army, from the Golden Horde to the Vikings, and then beyond, has taken slaves. This is just the nature of human beings. You know, it's interesting. I saw someone on an African broadcast the other day admit the truth. You know, like why are people upset with Europeans and acting like they're the ones that invented slavery when it was our black brothers and sisters who for thousands of years enslaved their brothers and sisters through warfare and kept them as slaves? And then, which I've been saying forever, you know, they seem to forget that for 1,600 years, they sold slaves to the Arabs. And there's a reason why there's not a big black population in the Middle East or North Africa, because they were castrated. The males were castrated, and that's it. They were slaves for physical labor and for serving in uniform and working the fields, but they never reproduced because they were all castrated. That didn't happen in the Americas and North America by and large. That's why we have populations today. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. It's
Yeah, but you got to realize they also, in what was the 1808, we no longer imported slaves, so to have them, they had to breed them.
I'm well aware of that. I've pointed that story out many times. The United States in 1806 passed legislation banning the importation of slaves. And in fact, that federal law was upheld. When people were caught doing it, they were tried. In fact, a white slave trading captain was captured in 1859 and hung by the neck until he died for dumping a load of slaves outside of New Orleans. They caught him after he scuttled a ship, and he was sentenced to death. He died for bringing slaves in the country. So I don't want to hear this original sin of slavery nonsense. We didn't invent the institution. We were the only country to ever fight a civil war to end the institution of slavery. We were amongst the first countries in the world to ban slavery, and we have been the strongest countries in the world fighting for people to end bondage for them. These people are sick and twisted. Their understanding of history is not even rudimentary. It's selective. And it's highly selective to say that. You know, the list goes on and on. Once again, if America's original sin was slavery, then why is it the first time that America expanded its territory in 1787 with the Northwest Ordinance Act, when we got the land from Britain, which include the future states of Ohio, Indiana, where Todd is at tonight, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan? Why is it that we banned slavery into perpetuity in that new territory if we were in favor of slavery? We weren't in favor of slavery. It was a compromise that allowed a union to be formed. Otherwise, there would not have been a United States. There would have been a Southern United States. There would have been a Northern United States at the outset. We never would have been a country, or we'd have fought each other and wiped each other out, and then the Brits or French would have came in and recolonized us. So it's just disingenuous and flat out a lie, the nonsense these people spew. They need to learn history. They need to learn the truth about this country and stop lying about it. It's the best. And let's go back before we get away. Today. Yep. Ripping down the American flag and hoisting a Palestinian flag. That is not protest. That is an act of insurrection. You are defying the authority of the United States and openly doing so in public. You have declared your allegiance to Palestine. You are therefore forfeit of your rights. You must be tried for treason. There are multiple witnesses. We have the video. These people, if they're American citizens, must be tried for treason. If they're not American citizens, they must be deported immediately and never allowed to come back in this country. This is defacing the Liberty Bell. Why would you deface the Liberty Bell? What does that have to do with Palestine? Nothing. These people, this is a consequence of the lawlessness that started under Obama and continued under Trump and has reached a crescendo under this crooked regime.
Well, you know, the problem is if this was 250 years ago, you know what they'd have done to them? They wouldn't even got the flag hoisted.
Well,
they would have taken care of business. They would have got things done. We are too tolerant as a nation, as too tolerant as a society, and too tolerant as a people today.
Well, and people don't want to be involved. Well, that's not my problem. That's somebody else's problem. That's their problem. ... I don't want to be, in the spotlight. I don't want somebody to say something about me. I don't want to be reprised against. All of this nonsense. And then you hear all these people talk about Second Amendment's case, our government becomes tyrannical. I don't see it anywhere, people. I'm not calling for violence. I just don't see it.
You're not going to have to call for violence. If these people continue to destroy America, they're going to bring the violence on themselves. It's going to happen. They're already being violent. We already have violence.
Yep.
But patriots can only be pushed so far, and that's what's going to happen. And listen to nonsense tonight. You know, all the one-sided nonsense. And if you listen to the interview or the questioning of Christopher Wray, the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation today, who did I think reasonable job answering the questions for the part that I saw for about an hour and a half. He seemed reasonable.
Good.
Yeah. I have no faith or confidence whatsoever in Christopher Wray. I think he's the deep state slime ball, but I'll be fair and objective. He did the best he could under the circumstances. He was clear about what his responsibilities are and what they're not. So I appreciate that. But during that, grandstanding, people getting up there, going on, you know, I'm going to ask you a question, but wait till I finish 4.5 minutes of standing on my soapbox. Then I'll ask you a question that the answer to will be yes or no. So here I go. I'm going to complain about America and weapons, yada, yada. And then cherry pick the violence. Talk about Gabby Giffords when she shot. Talk about, you know, but forget about the Republicans who were targeted by a Bernie Sanders supporter, shooting them at a baseball practice, you know, and then, you know, she ended with Trump, but forgetting about the hammer that was used to try to kill, what's his name? Sorry?
Pelosi?
No, not Pelosi. She talked about Pelosi, but that was his gay lover. That doesn't have anything to do with political violence. I'm talking about Rand Paul. When they went to his house, a guy attacked him on his step with a hammer. And then they go to these leftists go to Josh Hawley's home in D.C. and violate federal law, standing outside protesting in front of a federal officer's house, which is a felony offense. While law enforcement watching, not only did they do that, they entered his property. Then they beat on his door and harassed his 9-month pregnant wife. No charges ever filed. That's political violence. They don't talk about that. What about the occupation of the Seattle Federal Court building in the summer of 2020 and the formation of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone? Chaz, that is an insurrection. This is political violence. The people were murdered. The people were raped in that Chaz. The list goes on and on. What about the Trump supporter, the 80-year-old who was run over with an ATV this week? An ATV, a 22-year-old ran him over with an all-terrain vehicle, an 80-year-old, because the 80-year-old had Trump signs in his yard. This scumbag went by, ripped them down and threw them up the yard. He drove away. The old man came out and saw his signs were down, started putting them back up. The guy ran over him. He's in critical condition. And this coward, this political coward, went off and damaged 2 other cars. I don't know what that was all about. And then he called the cops and said, come get me. And they blew his brains out. Well, that's probably the only best thing he did in his life.
Yeah, good deal. Sayonara, you piece of crap.
Yep. So Amanda says that Joe never once stuttered or said end of caption, and words and lip movements did not match up. Or am I just critical? She's way too critical. I don't know if you're way too critical, Amanda. That was something.
Yeah, he gave no real reason as to why he stepped. I mean, passing the torch is one thing, but you could run for one more term and then pass the torch.
But why didn't he pass the torch 18 months ago instead of subjecting us to a fake primary season? Right. This is all a setup, folks. So this is all a scam.
He got squeezed out, is what happened. And you know, when he gave that, when he wrote it out, that little fake signature on there, it's for the good of the party or it's good for the country. When they start saying stuff like that, that means they got squeezed out.
Yeah.
Oh, we know he got squeezed. I mean, that's the point. But
there was no money for him.
He was their convenient sock puppet until he wasn't, and now they have a new sock puppet.
He's unreliable. He can't give a speech anymore. He can't maneuver anymore. He's going to become uncontrollable. They know it, so they're trying to replace him with Kamala.
But the real problem was twofold. Because of the debate performance, nobody was giving money to the campaign. The funds dried up completely. They couldn't continue to lie about Trump unless they had more money. So that was the first thing. And the second thing is that he couldn't perform anymore. It was clear in the polls that he was going to get trounced. And don't believe the fake polls coming out now about Kamala. She's not tied or leading Trump. That's fantasy.
No, and think about this. Kamala, you think about Biden being controllable. She's not going to be. She's going to get to the point where she's like, I'm president. I can really make decisions legally, constitutionally. I don't need these puppet masters anymore. She's going to start cutting the strings, and all of a sudden going to be her own person. She's going to stand on her own, and she's going to make bad decisions, but she's going to realize she doesn't need them. And she'll call them out, expose them, or something.
Well, she starts doing stuff that His Highness Obama and Susan Rice and Nancy Pelosi don't want her to do, and she better hope the Secret Service detail improves.
they could be like, you see what happened to Trump? That was a warning shot.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see it.
Somebody said, "Is this the original Biden?" Or, I mean, the clones are still there, aren't they? That's funny.
Oh, the clones.
Send in the clones. Send in the clones.
Trump's going to move back in, and you're going to be walking around. Where's my brother at?
This is such a lame White House. We can't even get fembots.
Fembots. Give me that chop.
$1 billion. Oh my goodness, folks! You're listening to the Common Sense Conservatives at WSMN 95.3 and 1590 AM on your dial every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Todd McKinley in East Tennessee, although he's on the road tonight, and John Grosvenor up in the studio. I'm Chris Wyatt in Central Pennsylvania. We've been listening to the Saturday Night Live. Joe Biden's speaking appearance this evening. It was entertaining to say the least. If you're looking for a good novel, listen to the audio rendition of Joe Biden's speech tonight and how he's always stood for America, how he's looked out for the little guy, how a sleazeball from Scranton, who wears diapers in his 70s, could only become president only in America. Yeah, it was lame. It was lame.
I want to know what he's going to get the authority to keep fighting for all this stuff he said he's going to keep fighting for. You're leaving office, bro. You're not a senator. You're not a president. Where are you fighting from? What platform are you standing on?
From the Rehoboth Beach Retirement Center care facility.
He's going to be fighting in his heart. It's going to be all spirit.
I hope Joe likes tapioca pudding because that's what's on the menu.
Yeah, somebody said he may have been promised about $250 million for his presidential library so he can have a library there in Delaware.
A library? For what?
Yeah.
He doesn't read.
No, a presidential library.
Presidential. For all the suckers who think he was the actual president. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
They should make it the Susan Rice Memorial Library.
Yeah, they'll be like, just kidding. This is the Obama third term library.
Yeah. No, what they should do is they should dress up as Charlie Brown and what's her name there?
With the football. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say every president gets a presidential library. Joe Biden's
Lucy.
full of books with big pictures.
With big pictures. What are you saying?
I said every president gets a presidential library, except for Joe Biden's presidential library, be full of books with big pictures.
Right? Yeah, big pictures and very simple words, right?
Things in the way of like,
Joe was
look
president.
at Dick run, Dick
Joe
run.
said all the words.
Hey! We're gonna have all the sound bites. You walk in the Joe Biden Presidential Library. You walk. Yeah, that's right. You walk through the Corn Pop Memorial Hall. He's a bad dude. And you'll see pictures of Joe. Joe is sitting at the pool as a lifeguard, and his blonde hairs.
You can rub Joe's hair.
They'll have a little mannequin. You kids can walk up and rub his legs. Then they'll have a little mannequin where the kids can walk under and get their hair sniffed.
Yeah, once a month, Joe sits out front. You can rub his hair. He sniffs his kid, whatever. That's $10 right there. Hey, that's just a $10 sniff.
We need that money for Ukraine. Put it in my pocket.
Right, yeah, put it in my pocket.
Oh my goodness!
Suppose when you go to Disney World, the Hall of Presidents will have a Joe Biden that keeps malfunctioning.
So it's true to life.
Yeah, true to life.
That's right. So nothing of substance came out of that. I mean, There was nothing there, and it
was the same thing you've written, more or less.
Nothing that Kamala can use to praise Joe. I know they'll try to spin it tomorrow.
So people always talk about Hollywood. They pick on Hollywood, but they get it right. I mean, they're better than Nostradamus. I mean, first off, the executive decision with Kurt Russell. Remember that?
Yeah.
And Steven Seagal. When they said how could anyone ever thought that they would try to fly planes in the White House? Hollywood did. Hollywood, they had executive decision. The plan was to fly the plane with the neurotoxin into the White House or the Capitol building. The terrorists, they came up with that. Now we've also got the movie Dave with Kevin Kline, where he played a double for the president. Tonight we saw the Dave rendition just now with the body double for Joe Biden, pretending to be Joe Biden.
They actually had a Secret Service. They had a CIA agent talks about. She says, "Man, the makeup and the abilities. You seen them social media posts with the videos of these people putting that mask on. That's a pullover mask over their whole head and shoulders.
Right.
And you can't even tell that's a mask. Looking at the video. And she's claiming that you could sit in front of the U.S. president as a total different fictitious person, and he would never know the difference. So they got their material down. I mean, if they want to do body doubles and stuff like that, that's what I'm getting at here. Is if they really wanted to pull that off, it's not impossible.
Listen, I was a fan of the original Mission Impossible, the Impossible Mission Team, and I'm even bigger fan of Ethan Hunt, and I can pull that mask off too, So it's
yeah.
No, I'm just saying that was her claim. That was her claim.
Well, no, I believe it. Look, I mean, we see Mission Impossible. I've seen him pull off that mask, and look, I've even watched Austin Powers try to pull the mask off, although she didn't have a mask on.
Yeah, but
it's a man.
But with a disguise in a situation, you're usually not wanting to be up close and personal to people that can scrutinize every situation, everything that every little nook and cranny of your face or whatever. Use a disguise as something that you do from far away as you're walking by. Somebody describes some nondescript old guy. When guess what? You took that off. You're 30-year-old somebody, whatever.
Well, a lot to do with the disguise too is about posture, about how you move, and things
that goes along with it. But this idea where you're going to dress up and you're going to go try to fool people and slide into the Kremlin somehow, that's not really happening.
Oh, look, I really,
more likely not.
I enjoyed The Saint. I thought it was a great movie. Elizabeth Shue and Val Kilmer before he blew up. So one of the comments in the chat on my thing says, did I work with CIA makeup artists ever? No, the only artists I worked with the CIA were the graphic artists who made the graphics for my presidential daily briefs. You're being a smart aleck, but there's actually a real answer to that question.
But he did occasionally use a little bit of toner or something. I don't know. He was a 20-year-old graphic designer, right?
That was not my question. I don't know. I told him what my needs were, and it came from production, and the artwork was brilliant. The maps I asked for were exactly how I asked. They're very good. They pay those people very well. They know what they're doing, whether they're using Macintosh or Windows Blue Screen of Death. They know what they're doing. They do a really good job. No, it's pretty amazing. It's nice to have that on hand because I have no skills, no artistic skills. I know what needs to be on there. I know what message I'm trying to convey. I explain it, and boom, a few hours later, they send it back. It's amazing. It's kind of like when I ran for office, I mean, I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to do it because I don't have the art skills. But then these guys came up with incredible buttons and signs and everything for me. They're really gorgeous. They're really effective. Nice. It was brilliant, yeah. So anyway, it's nice to have people with those artistic skills. I'm not one of them, that's for darn sure.
Yeah, you just let them loose, and sometimes they can come up with some stuff that you just can't even think of.
I mean, it's amazing. Tonight we thought we actually saw Joe Biden.
Right. Well, I know somebody who does a lot of my work. Carrie Carpenter does a lot of my work, and she's amazing. You just give her a general idea, and she's like, "How about this?" It may take her a couple hours because she perfects it, but it's like, here you go. It works. It works.
But guys,
I don't have to change anything.
Today, America reached a new low, a new shameful low, in which scumbags just damaged the Liberty Bell. They ripped down American flags at Union Station, and they violently protested because they're anti-Semitic Jew haters and they hate America. These people are committing crimes, and people are pretending that they're protesting. These aren't protests; these are crimes. When you rip down an American flag, an official flag at a government facility, and you hoist up a foreign flag, you've committed an act of treason, and you've shown your fealty and loyalty to a foreign power. Therefore, you have no right. You've abrogated your rights, and you need to get out. Footsec, take off, be gone. And then this defacing the Liberty Bell. What the hell is wrong with people? Seriously? It's time for patriots to stop tolerating this nonsense and to get rid of these scumbag politicians in the fall, whether they're Democrats or Republicans who tolerate this garbage. This is unacceptable. A couple years ago, they threatened to damage the monuments at Gettysburg, and there's hundreds of those from all the regiments on both sides of the battlefield. They threatened it, but patriots stood up and sent them a strong word of warning during the summer of love in the summer of 2020, and they didn't have the courage to challenge patriots who were going to defend those monuments.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we should do across our entire country. You see this, you step up, you defend it. The other people get tried, they get convicted, you get a pat on the back. Maybe you get a medal. I don't know. Maybe you get a corn dog. I don't know. It's not something. You get a meal for free. Here you go. Go get your meal voucher. Great job, Patriot.
Of course, it's understandable why patriots are reserved because they're not violent people. They're not violent people by and large, and lawsuits, and also they get harassed by a corrupt government that violates the rule of law and misuses the government. I read today about a gentleman who spent 30 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit, and he went to prison as a 22-year-old on the basis of the testimony of a 12 and 15-year-old who said, well, he was there. No physical evidence, no forensics, no DNA, no gunshot residue, but he was convicted of a murder 30 years ago and spent 30 years in prison. Now, the state can do that to you. Think about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could tell you there was around Halloween whenever I was a kid, we used to go out and do little mischief stuff. And a friend's younger brother told people that, no, Todd was in the neighborhood. He was over there doing this stuff. And it's like he got confused. I was there the night before, actually walking around on Halloween. This was like a day after Halloween. And so, but he was confused. Other people were over there, not me. I was there the night before, actually. And so if somebody could just misremember something, get dates confused, everything, around Halloween, things kind of, days that basically seem the same. Next thing you know, all of a sudden somebody misremembers something, and you're rolled up and in trouble, whether it's with your parents or with the police in that situation.
Misremembers? Is that like forgetting?
Yeah. You misremember. It's like, no, I was there the night before you saw me, but not that particular night.
Yeah, 30 years in
that
prison.
sounds funny, but I think that's an actual word. It's.
Yeah.
I've heard that before, and it sounds funny. It's not one of those things you would think to use unless you were familiar with it.
Right, misremember. Yeah. You remembered that I was there, but you didn't. You got the date wrong. But it's all good.
I'll take your word on that.
But it can happen. But a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old, whatever, saying something that just that you were there doesn't mean you shot anybody. Doesn't mean you killed anybody. Doesn't mean you had anything to do with anything like that. Just because you were nearby has nothing to do with that.
That's an issue within itself, right? I mean, it's hearsay evidence, but the jury took it. And I don't know why the judge would allow it if there was no real concrete proof or evidence he was there. Why would they accept hearsay evidence like that as the only proof or evidence?
Right. Yep.
So here's an interesting one. Kamala Harris said this November we'll elect a majority to Congress who will agree that the government should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. When you murder an American citizen in the womb, the government has every right to tell you what to do with their body. When Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will sign into law, and then we will quickly overturn it because it's unconstitutional. Just so you know.
Yep, and of course that's why they want to pack the Supreme Court before he leaves, so she can get away with doing what she wants to.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, your buddy Robbie Starbuck has been in overdrive between the Tractor Supply Store and a host of other businesses. Now he's going after Harley Davidson.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. He said Harley Davidson seems to have forgotten who their core customers are. In a 10-minute video, it called out their policies, partnerships, events, the DEI, CRT, and LGBTQ+. He said, I don't think the values of corporate reflect the values of nearly every Harley Davidson biker. Do Harley riders want the money they spend in Harley to be used later by corporate to push an ideology that's diametrically opposed to their own values? So do y'all think Harley Davidson is going to make their dealers suffer the fallout from their choice to go woke at corporate? Or do you think they're going to try to turn around on this before all the biker clubs organize boycotts? Yeah, wow, Robbie is becoming fast the enemy number one of corporate wokeism.
Right.
I should get him back.
Harley, it's like Budweiser. They'll just push through it. They'll keep pushing through it because people are too forgiving.
Well, not everybody. I mean, look, Tractor Supply Store back down.
Yeah, I don't know. People tend to be too forgiving.
John Deere back down. There have been more victories since Robbie Starbuck started this crusade. It must be nice to have a platform like that and just go after them. But ever since Robbie started this a few weeks back and exposing these companies that are supposed to be traditional value American companies, they've been backing down and moving away from the woke stuff. Now, the problem is you got to keep an eye on it because they'll slip right back into it or they'll try to hide it. But Robbie is definitely doing yeoman's work here, trying to keep this on the plate, on the front burner. I didn't expect to hear this from Harley Davidson. There's a Harley Davidson plant right down the road here in York, Pennsylvania. It's
some things are kind of unforgivable, aren't they? It's kind of like with Arnold Schwarzenegger, screw your rights. It's like, excuse me? Back in the COVID days when he announced screw your rights and stuff. And I had a friend who says, well, John, people make mistakes. I'm like, no. He meant what he said, and that wasn't a mistake. I don't feel forgiving for that. As far as I'm concerned, ever since then, the guy's been a piece of dirt. I don't give a crap if he tried to make amends and apologize to people or not. That was his real feelings. That was his sentiment at the time. Well, and I'm sure it still is. Screw your rights. That was it.
Remember all the Karens who ran around and attacked people for not wearing masks? And all the people screaming at you to get your booster shot? Joe's had, 6 of them? 6? I think he had 6 booster shots. He still got the Rona. Well, I don't think he had the Rona. I think that was just an excuse.
I think the booster shots you're talking about is the Botox and all the injections.
Oh, is that what it was? He got Botox shots. Okay.
He was boosting something.
Yeah,
He goes something.
Yeah, maybe Joe's booster wasn't for the jab, but rather for
It's actually a
amphetamines.
Boost energy drink. It's a Boost energy drink.
Yeah, he was
Joe,
drinking.
Did you get your booster?
They're giving him Monster intravenously.
Yeah, right.
They're giving him something. It could be where the white powder came from in the White House.
No, that's Hunter's, man. Don't confuse things.
Man, like father, like son. I'm just saying.
By the way, who covered up that story? The Secret Service. That's right.
And you don't hear anything really else of Hunter right now. Nothing.
Oh, he withdrew his lawsuit against Fox News.
Yeah, well, I guess now that his dad's moving out of the way, everybody's just going to kind of let him float out. Nothing's going to happen.
When's the sentencing? I mean, they never set a sentencing date.
Nothing's going to happen.
I don't really care about Hunter Biden. I'd rather
Daddy
see Joe
Biden needs
prosecuted.
him to make a sentencing date at some point in time before he's out of office. Otherwise, Hunter might be twisting in the wind later on.
Well,
there'll be a pardon. There'll be a last day pardon. There'll be a stack of pardons, and there'll be controversial pardons. There'll be his brother will be pardoned, and his son will be pardoned.
He'll pardon himself.
Several other people.
I was joking with a friend about it one day. I could see Biden's all packed up. He's like, "Jill, you ready?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm ready." So I feel like I'm forgetting something. There's Biden in jail, or Hunter sitting over there. Daddy, don't forget me, Daddy.
Yeah, Smoking the Bandit, but Daddy.
Well, at least we won't have to listen to this anymore. My son Bo, he died in combat. No, he didn't, buddy. He died from cancer.
No.
Died from cancer. Stop lying to people.
Yeah, unfortunate, but don't try to tie in his military service with his death. Let's not do that. And now maybe you could perhaps draw a correlation, but don't do it for political gain. Don't do it for political gain.
Yeah, that's definitely what it's all about. Done for a political game. All nonsense. He's never met a person's grief he couldn't use for his own benefit. That's for darn sure. That's Joe Biden.
I mean, I could see if Bo Biden's family was needing money and all this, needing a VA or whatever, some sort of money or whatever. I could see trying to help in that situation to prove that there's a correlation. But just trying to do it for political gain or just to get a pat on the back to show, yeah, my kid also went to war. Your kid was a lawyer that was hanging out at headquarters. I'm sorry.
I find it fascinating. The left is always talking about, they get around, they talk about Trump, they call him a draft dodger, but they don't mention Joe Biden as draft dodger.
Right.
Joe Biden should have been in combat too. Where was he at?
Some of that selective memory, right?
Right.
Yeah,
he's 29 years old. He got elected to the Senate, sworn in just after turning 30.
Yep.
And that's where he's been. Whenever he was mid-20s, he was elected to the what is equivalent to a county commission, basically.
He profited off the grief of his wife dying in a car accident. Yep. And used that to ride to fame, and he's been doing it ever since, using other people's grief. Yep. And then ignoring real grief, like the 13 service members and 45 who were mutilated, courtesy of his abject failure at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Joe Biden. The backside of him can't come soon enough. It should have come 50 years ago. Should never have known who this loser was. Lunch Pail Joe, the most tone-deaf individual.
Americans aren't careful. Kamala will, one way or another, by hook, by crook, will win the election if we're not careful.
Well, I've actually heard that the plan is these illegal immigrants. You got millions of them.
Sure. And
they're moving them around. So the concept is we move them to this location, they register to vote. Now we pick them up and move them to another location and register them to vote there. So now you got one guy has 5 votes throughout the country with millions and millions of people.
Well, that sounds like conspiracy theory, but it might have legs.
No, actually, where I heard it from, it probably does have some legs.
Oh, that's right. Light Rain says, I forgot he married the babysitter. That's right.
Right?
Yeah, he did. He was already had something going on with her, I think, before.
He did.
Of course he did. That's why he didn't miss his wife. He just profited off of her loss.
She was feeling his hairy legs.
Oh, good God.
Tell me how you beat up Corn Pop.
He's a bad dude, man.
You got all those answers, and Corn Pop only got like 2 or 3. Great job, Joe. I'll marry you, not Corn Pop. It was a competition or something.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe people still claim he's from Scranton, Pennsylvania. He's not.
Yeah. Lunch Pail Joe.
He was born there. What? He moved there. What? He was 8, I think, when they moved out of there.
He was younger than 8. I thought he was 4 or 5. But anyway, yeah, he didn't grow up in Scranton. He was born here.
No.
I was born in Baltimore, but I didn't grow up in Baltimore. But I know it better than Joe knows Scranton.
Yeah, no. Joe drove a truck in Scranton. He was the part of the NAACP and bus
In
citizens.
Duluth.
Was he there with John
All those
Lewis?
things.
He marched it on. It's
All those things, you know. He was getting arrested in South Africa. All that with Mandela.
Oh,
he was
gosh.
in there. All those
You
things.
said he drove truck. I'm sitting there thinking he was running with Hoffa. Maybe he knows the story about that.
Yeah, no, well, it was him and Hoffa. They were driving over to Mandela to pick him up. That's what happened. You know, the whole situation. You know.
Well, now we get in even more entertainment stuff, you know, and so I was, you know, today is today, and yesterday is yesterday, and tomorrow is tomorrow, and if today's tomorrow, yesterday, then yesterday is last week. I don't know who's on third base. I don't know.
And it depends on what is.
That's right.
What's your definition?
Does she get Joe Biden's $90 million?
She should be able to get it, although the Trump campaign has filed a lawsuit today to stop that transfer $91.5 million over. But given just the evil nature of rich, connected slime balls who are stealing our country, they donated already $64 million to try to disguise it if it was a bunch of small donations. No, it was mostly big donations.
Where does the money go when somebody gives up on the race like Joe Biden? Where does it go back to the party, or can they transfer it?
No, it doesn't go to the party. It goes to the campaign, which is an entity.
Right.
Right, but now the entity dissolves.
No, in this case, it may not be the case. It depends on how it was written up. If the entity is Biden-Harris, then she could technically should be able to use money, and that's what the argument is.
Yeah.
But I think the lawsuit coming from the Trump campaign is saying that it was Biden, not Biden-Harris. I don't know how it was registered, but I know that the way it works is you have to spend the money. In Pennsylvania, you know, first off, there's no limit. You can give people whatever you want. There's no limitation on state candidate. You can give me $1 million if you want to run for office. That's why Josh Shapiro got $63 million money poured in. The most money ever spent on a gubernatorial race prior to that was $4 million. He spent $63 million alone against, I think, like $4 million spent by Doug Mastriano or something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
But so there's no limit here. But, you know, of course, it's $2,000 limit or something like that for a federal candidate. Anyway, the money can just pour in. And that money, you know, like here in Pennsylvania, at the end of my campaign, if I had donations, I can donate that to another political campaign. But that's Pennsylvania. That's not federal election campaign laws. Federal election law is different. And that money must be spent by that campaign, or they have to return it to the donors. That's not the easiest thing to do. So, yeah, so the $91 million probably would have been gone, or they would have had to ask for special permission to donate to something, but they couldn't have given it to another candidate. But because they kept her on the ticket, I believe she's going to be able to spend the money, even though there's a lawsuit coming from Trump. But it doesn't matter. The money's coming in left and right from Silicon Valley, Zuckerberg-like sort of clowns, and the industrialists who want to keep the gravy train going of ripping off consumers and having big corporate interests at the expense of entrepreneurs, retarding the growth of our country because they are satisfied with no economic growth, with stagnant growth, because they simply snatch up more market share that's given to them by the corrupt government, cutting out the smaller players with regulation and laws that make it impossible for entrepreneurs to succeed. So the bigger guys survive. They don't mind. Yeah. And they'll donate their millions of dollars to the candidates, the dirty money, and they'll get what they want. And that's what the gravy train is, and it keeps on going. The reason Donald Trump has become a target is because he is not part of that. He fights that establishment. Unfortunately for him, a significant portion of the Republicans in Congress are part and parcel of this corrupt system.
Yep, absolutely. You know, and you think about this, you know, whenever they interview a witness, if you will, in Congress in, you know, a committee hearing, you know, they a lot of times the Republicans say, I'm going to say this and this, and Democrats, I'm going to say this and this, and they key each other up and play off of each other to fundraise off of it. You know, absolutely. They'll use the other person who sits right next to them words in their ad, and vice versa, and they'll use it to fundraise, and they'll raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, just fear mongering, scaring people, and they laugh about it whenever they're off camera.
Well, and you're absolutely correct. And it's not just there. It doesn't stop there. It's also the media. Sure. First off, Rachel Maddow is not the raging, idiotic lunatic that she plays on television.
Yeah.
That's an act, most of it. I've talked to people who've met her, and she came to the War College, talked to them. She's a rational, cogent person who actually supposedly respects the military and believes in national defense, but that's not the person on camera. She doesn't get paid to be real. And it's the same with politicians. They're not genuine. These are plastic people. They're mannequins. They are sock puppets. Almost all of them. Very few genuine people. That's why when you see genuine people like Jim Jordan, you need to latch on to them. You need to take advantage of the real people that are out there. And that's kind of what irritated me about my election. In my race, there were 4 genuine people and 1 sock puppet, and the sock puppet won.
That's usually the way it goes whenever the Republican establishment's involved. That's usually what happens. It's the sock puppet. who's going to be pliable, who's going to take those phone calls from their donors and from the establishment. They may not be run every day and every decision by the establishment, but whenever they pick up the phone and call them, they answer for sure. They ignore your call.
Oh, no doubt, but no doubt about it. My question is, I would like to know who all the Jeff Dunhams are that control these puppets.
Well, that's this guy over here has this voice, and he has another voice over here. Yeah, he's hilarious. I can tell you, he's one of the best. Puppet.
Do you realize he's 62? I had no idea he's 62.
He's been around.
He's been around a while.
He had that old man forever, that Joe Biden thing. Joe Biden just kind of grew into that puppet, I think, right?
Walter.
Well, that would explain his stick up his backside. So, it's one thing I did notice, though, is that, and I noticed about 5 or 6 years ago when he came to Harrisburg at the Senators and sang God Bless the USA, as Lee Greenwood was getting up there, I could really see Lee is up there now in his 80s. He's slowing down, and his voice isn't as good as it once was, but it still is a rousing rendition of God Bless America. It's a beautiful song, but it's not the same Lee Greenwood we heard in 1990. Gulf War. Lee Greenwood.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. But he pays his own way to go around and do these at these Trump rallies. By the way, he pays for that himself.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he does. He's a great American, and it's incredible. If I had to start again tomorrow, start all over again with just my children and my wife. Yeah. I mean, that's boy. He hit that nail on the head 30 years ago for what we're living through right now. Yeah.
Yep, big time.
The flag still stands for freedom, except where the Palestinians rip it down and burn it.
Yeah, I remember I did a rally in Wisconsin for this was Pence. It was Trump Pence back then, and then I went to Tennessee back home and drove down to Chattanooga, and it was a joint visit with President Trump and Pence, and Lee Green was there to sing his rendition, and of course I had to cue him up to go on stage, which was kind of cool. He came off, we shook hands, talked for a few minutes. I walked him back around to the hold room, the dressing room area, and that was it. It's kind of cool. He's a nice guy, really nice.
Yeah, no, he really is. Great American. I was always wondering why we got Mike Pence. I guess we couldn't afford a pound.
Oh man.
Yeah.
As I'm in his home state.
Yeah. Anyway, crazy week. Was it last week? Did we already talk about last week? Bob Newhart passing away. Did we mention it last week? Yeah.
I did not remember that.
Yeah, Bob Newhart passed away at 94. That was kind of sad. And then who else passed away?
A lot of people in our last couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah, a lot of noted celebrities and performers.
Yeah. Well, I saw a tweet that said Jimmy Carter passed away, and I was like,
no,
that was a hoax. Yeah,
that was a hoax. Yeah.
But the night before, I was telling somebody, I said, don't be surprised if Joe Biden, passes away in his sleep at some point over the next few weeks or next couple months. I said, don't be surprised.
Do you know?
Next thing, I saw that. The first thing I saw the next morning when I woke up was Jimmy Carter's dead. I was like, I got the wrong. I killed Jimmy Carter. I got the wrong person.
But do you know that they could top the best episode ever of a sitcom, which was Newhart when he woke up next to Suzanne Plachette at the Newhart show, and he said, "Hey, I had a dream. I was in New England. I was an innkeeper." That was the best ever. But they could have topped that. They could have topped that tonight with Jimmy Carter in the Oval Office saying, "Hey, Joe's not here. I'm the president." that would have been incredible.
Right?
I had a dream that some guy from Scranton became the president, not a peanut farmer. Oh my goodness!
What wasn't the what was the show? St. Elmo's as a hospital. What was it there?
St. Elsewhere.
St. Elmo's Fire.
St. Elsewhere was in the same universe as Cheers and Frasier and all the spinoffs.
Well, there you go, folks.
But anyway, go ahead.
All right, we'll see you next week. Come in 7 to 9 for my YouTube audience. Stay tuned. I'll be on camera in just a second. Stay in there. Catch you all next week. God bless. Be safe out there, and don't believe that Joe's not alive because somebody showed up tonight. Cheers. Alrighty, folks. Thanks for hanging around. All those who hung around. I'm back and I'm here. And we heard Joe Biden speak tonight, appearing on camera. That was a bit of a shocker for us, wasn't it? Thanks for being here. I appreciate those who are patient. And sorry for the radio-like presentation tonight, but we were on air for the Common Sense Conservatives, and we did want to air Joe Biden tonight in case it was actually not Joe Biden, see who showed up. But thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Be sure to hit that like button. Only a handful of people who hit this hour. But for those who tune in, they can watch the Joe Biden performance early on But what a classic comedy hour that was. It lasted about 10 or 12 minutes. Joe Biden acting as if he's some great American and he's made great changes and he's stood for everything great in this country, when he's completely the opposite of that. The man has destroyed this country. He's a grifter who's stolen from us for over 50 years, and he has destroyed world peace. He actually made the audacious claim that he's the only president in the 21st century who hasn't had a war. Well, that's a lie. It's a lie. You do have a war. It's called Ukraine. You have another war. It's called Gaza. And you've ignored all the wars and let the world catch on fire in the Sahel, in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Somalia, Sudan, Mozambique, Myanmar. This is all on Joe Watch. We're nearly at a war in the South China Sea between the Philippines, Vietnam, and China. We're coming to blows on that. And this guy is living in an alternate universe, and his time pretending to be the president of the United States is coming to an end, and that's a good thing. But unfortunately, there's a lot more work that needs to be done. Yeah, will Hunter be drawing white lines? White lines. Oh, remember that song? Oh, man. Wow, white lines. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. White Lines, Don't Do It. Song by Melly Mel. My goodness. That was a long time ago. White Lines. Oh, my goodness. Wow, such a long time ago. Now, this song was Melly Mel, was 12-inch, 1983 on Sugar Hill Records. Man, oh man, that was a long time ago. Wow. Where are the lyrics at? I was looking for the lyrics. Where are the lyrics? Lyrics. Yeah. Vision, dreams, and passion blowing through my mind, and all the while I think of you. Wow, man. 1983. Man, oh man, where does the time go? Where does the time go? Ticket to Ride, White Line Highway. Tell all your friends they can go my way. Pay your tolls, sell your soul. Pound for pound costs more than gold. The longer you stay, the more you pay. My white lines go a long way. Either up your nose or through your vein, with nothing to gain except killing your brain. Freeze rock! Freeze rock! Oh my goodness. As pure as driven snow. And now I'm having fun, baby. It's getting kind of low. I need some one-on-one, baby. Oh my goodness. Man, that's such a long time ago. Grandmaster Melly Mel. Bass. Yeah, man. Such a long time ago. White lines. All the while I think of you. Anyway, all right, that's going to do it for tonight, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate you being here. And thanks a lot. You did hear it and see it in the early part of this broadcast. Creepy Joe, Sleepy Joe, Cowardly Joe Biden telling us why he left the race. We don't care. Now we're stuck with Kamala. It's time to be unburdened by what has been. Good night, everybody. Cheers.